I knew who I hired. People I'd worked with in the past. One person in particular I had worked with in the past. I knew she was smart. I knew she was good at her job. I hired her, but within 6 months she quit, understandably, because she was very dissatisfied with what the business had offered her. And the business had offered her no structure, no organization, and no process. And I was figuratively here banging my head against the wall trying to figure out, like, why is no one happy? The new people were unhappy. The people who were there were unhappy. I was unhappy. Our clients were starting to get restless.
Let's talk about kind of the major growth in the agency, because there's a lot of people listening that when they start getting some traction and they start building their brand and their agency, they start getting more and more clients, which means they have to hire more and more people. Now, you went through, a huge hiring, like where you had to hire how many more people did you, like 3 times the amount of people
we tripled our staff over the course of a summer. So few lessons there. Number one, we should have hired earlier. We shouldn't have waited for the last moment. But early in the business, it felt like a big risk. What I learned over time, which I'm sure you know as well, is everything's a big risk. The numbers just get bigger and it feels equally as challenging. It's just bigger numbers overall. The challenge for us is, I thought everyone, I knew who I hired. People I'd worked with in the past. One person in particular I had worked with in the past. I knew she was smart. I knew she was good at her job. I hired her, but within 6 months she quit, understandably, because she was very dissatisfied with what the business had offered her. And the business had offered her no structure, no organization, and no process. And I was figuratively here banging my head against the wall trying to figure out, like, why is no one happy? Like, the new people were unhappy. The people who were there were unhappy. I was unhappy. Our clients were starting to get restless. And I just thought I'd hire smart people and let them do their thing. So after 6 months, we found out that we need standard operating procedure. And it's the most boring thing in the world. It's like that
especially for a creative.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that and accounting. Yeah, horrible. It's like I didn't get into advertising to talk about standard operating procedure. And so I had spoken to someone I had worked with in the past. He gave me this new shiny object. We hired him, and he quickly became our first chief operating officer. His very first thing that he did for us was we all went to Vegas for an offsite, and during that we wrote down every single action that we do in the business from start to finish, and that became our first SOP. And then he spent months implementing it, and then we had another director of operations and then COO, and that the key responsibility of that person is to ensure that we stick to our process and we refine our process. And what I learned over time is the following sort of like waterfall of benefits that happens with a standard operating procedure. Number one, people want to do good at their job. They, unless you get a random bad actor here and there, people generally want to do a good job. People start to understand when they are doing a good job because they know when their responsibility starts and ends. And when that happens, they know that they can leave at the end of the day and that they've done good. Those people are more satisfied. They stay with the business longer. The business builds tribal knowledge about the processes that work and that don't work, so they get refined. We get to hire more people. I don't have to train them. The other members of the team train them. The output of our work becomes stronger because everything is flowing smoothly. Clients return, and we grow with new clients, and we can focus on solving other challenges. So since that moment, which was now 6 years ago, our staff from that point has more than doubled again, and our revenues have stayed higher consistently over time. And our clients, most importantly, our clients are staying with us for many years at a time. They're not leaving us. And like, so now anytime I talk about how do you grow a business from an operational perspective, I talk about standard operating procedure. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be an evangelist for standard operating procedure.
Yeah. No, it's a must. I mean, in our mastermind this afternoon, we were actually chatting about that. And the problem was, and I'd like to get your take on this to figure this out. Now, you can document the shit out of something, right? And that's what most people do. And they go create 1,000 tasks and say, employee 1, team member 3, team member 5, you guys have to go from 1 to 1,000, and there's no deviation. When you guys started putting these SOPs in place, did they morph quickly, or did you go, you must do this, or can you deviate from that?
Yeah.
What was your guys' process?
We're definitely, so we're the ad buying business. So if you map out every single action, it looks like the tree of life. Like it's just a massive decision tree. So we're not documenting to that level of granularity. But like when we launch a campaign, we have a launch playbook. Like here are the 27 things that need to happen when you launch a campaign. It's like you look at pacing, you look at performance, you check pixels again, because you've also already checked them the first time. You do all these things, you do the dashboard. Now, those actions, each one of those actions, checking the dashboard is like another 27 steps. So we're not really documenting, we might document the top line, right? Because I want to give people just enough. I want everyone to have as much autonomy as they actually want, but not so much autonomy that they're unhappy because they never know which way is up and which way is down. That's sort of the thinking here. The other thing is people have to enforce the SOP. Like if we write an SOP and no one knows that it needs to be enforced, then it's useless.
Who's responsible for your SOP?
So our COO, and then from top down, everyone is responsible for more granular components. So our director of media is responsible for ensuring our supervisors and our buyers have the right processes. They check pacing at a certain cadence, etc. Then the supervisors are doing other things with the buyers, and the buyers are peer reviewing other buyers' work. So, and then me at the highest level is looking at, okay, we're part of that refinement process is whenever there's an issue in our business, it could be a big issue or a small issue. Like I really want to understand why it happened, because I'm really looking for small issues to stay small and never happen again, so they don't become big issues. Like one example, during the holidays one year, one of our account people sent a message to the buyer, sent 2 messages to the buyer in Slack in rapid succession on 2 separate topics. The buyer answered one, the account manager didn't close the loop, and one thing got left behind, and we found out in the middle of January on a small, it was like a $1,400 thing. So client was dissatisfied, but it's not the end of the world. What we learned from that as an example is that Slack is really not a good place to use. It's not a system to be used as a ticketing system. We can't give responsibility out on Slack because in 3 hours, that message is unfindable, essentially. So we started using Trello for that. So that's an example, and we're going to move to Notion eventually. But that's an example of a very small issue that could easily become a big issue, that we have open up a set of processes that solve for that one issue. There will always be challenges, but the reason we've been able to grow and the reason clients stay with us is because we've built that muscle and that support, and we don't make dumb mistakes anymore. We did in the past.
Going back when you were tripling and you had no SOPs, I presume all the knowledge was in individuals.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the chaos started.
Mm-hmm.
So what comes first, the chicken
Mm-hmm.
or the egg? Would you have, I know you talked about hiring faster on some of these people.
Mhm.
But would you put the SOP in place and then hire, or hire and then put the SOP in place with that new person if you had to do it over again?
So this advice would be applicable for anyone starting out. It's also applicable for what we're doing right now on sort of new things that we're doing. So I'll give you an example. Like, we don't offer SEO services, but we are doing SEO for ourselves. So I determined over the course of a few months what I worked with a consultant, paid him, and he was like, all right, here are the things you need to do for bottom of funnel SEO for your business. I'm like, all right, cool. I started doing it, realized I have like a year's worth of work ahead of me. Okay, I need to hire someone to do this work for me.
Mhm.
Right? It's like, holy cow, this will never end. So for like 2 months, I basically did the work every day. I was the SEO guy in our business. And I documented everything. And now I have a person I have 2 people doing different jobs, but there's overlap. So you do the work first, you figure out what it is, and then you document, and then you delegate. The problem is, the problem for a lot of people, I was like, I really like working with entrepreneurs and business owners just because like, I understand their challenges, and going through this SEO thing was challenging for me because many people will offer SEO services, but like, I don't know what that even means. Like, I don't know what I'm buying. If I'm paying someone like $2,000 a month for SEO, like, it's a black box. Like, I don't understand it, and I have to understand what's happening so I can judge whether or not I like the output of it. So the point here is, you've really got to know what you're doing and then outsource it. I don't think it's possible to hire someone and then say, you figure out the process. Because in trying to figure out the process, you might find that that's not the right person that you needed to hire.
I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen, or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.